introduce myself first. My name is Delano. I'll tell you a little bit about my background. A lot of you know me, some don't. So for those that don't, I was in law enforcement, and I had a 30-year career in police before I retired. I was doing homicide, cold case investigations, and worked a number of controversial cases, and decided to retire under controversial circumstances. And by the way, I'd like to say thank you to Deb Halstead. She was one of my partners along the way, and she came in today just to touch bases with us, and we just I hope the Lord blesses her for doing so. But I ran for the state senate while I was off of the police department, and I ran against as a Republican in primarily Democratic district against a incumbent that was 25-year incumbent. He was there for 25 years in the state, and we lost by about 3,000 votes, which was astonishing, at the time. And I had nothing, I really wasn't involved in politics, but one thing led to another, and just began talking to people and decided to run. But I wasn't, I didn't want to do more work. I was winding down from work, but it just seemed like something had to be done. I just when I asked before I ran for this state senate position, I asked around my neighborhood, like, who's the senator? I didn't even know who my state senator was, and so. And he was there for 25 years, so that's one of the reasons I ran. I said, somebody's got to do something, So we lost by 3,000 votes, and it was heartbreaking for me, personally, because we did a lot of work on the campaign and that. But on another flip side of that, when I was running as a Republican, and I got. There was 5 endorsements, like the Conservative Party and all of that. But anyways, there was some stuff that the state Republican Finance Committee pumped a lot of money my way, in election, which they do in a lot of elections. But for that money, they expected to run my campaign and wanted me to do some things that I wasn't comfortable doing. And I refused to do them flat out, and one of the things in my mind was, what good is it, winning this election, and becoming a state senator, if I got to lose my integrity or compromising? And that was the whole point of me running, because these guys do so much compromising and stuff, and so I didn't, and I lost by 3,000. They kind of blame me for it, and for not following their directives, So not too long, I had a blowout with the Republican Party, and I was so angry one day that I filled out the Democrat. I'm a Democrat now, so I had no intention of running for office again, and for some reason I just had it, and I said, that's it. And the only one thing that came to my mind for some reason was the Democrat thing. That's what I put in there. So that's what it just stayed that way, And then after I retired from the police department and that, we began talking, and my brother was a court officer in Cheektowaga, and he talked me into running for a judge job in Cheektowaga, which I never thought I would run. But being a Democrat is a big plus in Cheektowaga, so I ran and I won. I just couldn't believe it, but I did. And here I was back to work again, in which I was trying to wind down from work again, But anyways, I did that for, one term was 4 years. I did 3.5 years, and I resigned from that. And there was a lot of nonsense going on in that position also. So that's a bit of my background. I was brought up a Catholic. I was raised a Catholic till about somewhere in the mid-'90s, in the early '90s. My wife we never went to church, Catholic church, because I don't know, we just didn't, And we began raising a family, and I had always, being raised a Catholic, I had always thought, I knew God was there, but I always thought, like, I'll deal with him after I die, however that may be, And I didn't, really worry about God. I just knew there was a God, and I tried to do, you try to be decent and stuff like that. And I actually, the few services I did attend as a child, my parents made me go every week. You had to go. There was no, I never saw my parents in church, but I had to go every week. And my brothers, I came from a family of 13 kids, so, and we had to go, and you had to bring your envelope and all that stuff. And so years later, when we went to get married at the Catholic Church, my wife and I, I had to meet with the head priest, and they said, "Oh, you're not a good Catholic," because he opened the book, because I never donated any money to the, I never think so. You're not a good Catholic if you don't. And as he opened this big book with all this stuff in it, I'm looking, and there's some names in there that were good Catholics, that were like the biggest mobsters in my neighborhood, and they were good Catholics, and I wasn't, because I didn't, But anyway, so it was kind of hypocritical, and that kind of like, that was it for me. And I just didn't deal with any of that stuff for a long, long time. And my wife started going to churches like this one, evangelical churches and things, and she knew when I was a kid I used to play music. I used to play drums. Actually, I was a rock drummer when I was 18 years old. I used to play in bars and stuff, and one night stands and all of that, and so she knew I loved music. I had a love for music, and she heard this type of music, with a full band at church, which was unheard of in a Catholic church back then. And you had the choir. They came. I don't know where to this day, I don't know where they put the choir, because you just heard them. You never, they're like, sounded like angels or something. I knew there was a big organ there somewhere, but anyways, I don't want to sound mocking the Catholic Church, but because it was important, that Catholic upbringing, because it gave me discipline, and that's what it, that's the important part of that I grabbed out of it. God knows where we're at any minute, at any time, and He'll put those things in your path that need to change you or rearrange you or whatever you have to do, whatever He has to do to get you to do what He wants you to do. So that Catholic upbringing meant a lot. It gave me the discipline, And I never really did when I was pick up a Bible back then. You didn't, because one thing I couldn't understand was the Mass was done in Latin back then. I didn't understand a word of it, but I don't know. I still can't compute that one. But anyways, it give you a certain discipline. And I used to have to go to catechism every week and all that. But anyways, I get saved in the 90s. And I get involved in the worship group, the choir, and all of that stuff I'm doing. And I was having a ball. I was on fire for God. I had, I couldn't, the Bible, I just couldn't get enough of it, And I bought every CD and, and all of that, worship groups and all that. I jumped in hook, line, and sinker. And about 95, I'm in a big church, and it was in the worship group, and everything was great, and following God, and I have a heart attack, one day. I was in my house, and Saturday morning, I used to smoke and stuff at the time, but, I was in my house, and I just, I got some pain in my shoulder, and I just couldn't get comfortable and stuff like that, and it started getting worse. I tried laying down, nothing worked. So I started getting some intense pain, and my daughter was home at the time, and I said, "You better take me to the hospital." By the time I got to the hospital, I couldn't even breathe. The pain was so immense, So I get in the hospital, and like in the back of my head, it's going, "Wait a minute, God, hey, everything's going right for me." I'm doing your work in the church, and I go to practice on Thursday nights and service on Wednesdays. We did 2 services on Sundays. I was doing all this stuff, and I get a heart attack. So I go in a hospital, and they take some tests. Says, oh, you have a heart attack, and the machines, the EKGs, and so they wanted to keep me. And I had never stayed in the hospital except for I broke my leg when I was a kid, and then again in the service. And that's the only time I was in the hospital. And they shipped me to a hospital. I had an angiogram done. I had to go to a different hospital, Millard Filmer. Anyways, to make a long story short, I'm in there, and I'm in St. Joe's. I'm in bed. My wife was, when I had this incident during the day, my wife was in the country, and she came back, this wasn't when you carried a cell phone around all the time and stuff like that. And so she got back, my daughter got a hold of her, and she came, and we were sitting there. I was up all night, and I couldn't keep nothing down. I didn't have nothing in my stomach from the morning before and all of that. And I was up most of the night. And I finally fell asleep. I don't know how long I fell asleep for, an hour or so. And this was on a Saturday going into Sunday morning. And so I woke up from the sleep, and I told my wife, I says, there's nothing wrong. I'm fine. I just had a certain, like nothing was wrong. I says, we can go, get my clothes, we'll go. No, you can't. I was in ICU, so you said, you can't do that. She was giving me a heart attack trying to get get out of there. But anyways, she convinced me to stay and get checked out and all this stuff. But I told her, listen, there's nothing wrong with it. I know. So I go, and they wanted to keep me overnight, and I had to go to another hospital. So I did. Went through all of that, a couple days there. And the doctor, I'm not kidding you, the doctor come in and said, he's scratching his head. He says, listen, we know you had a heart attack, but we can't find any damage, we can't find anything done. I says, what does that mean? He says, well, you're fine, And what I didn't know at that time, and I had told my wife, she's just my wife and my daughter, and I think my son knew. But I told her, don't tell anybody. I was kind of embarrassed to be in a hospital and all of that. And unbeknownst to me, my sister-in-law, who went to the same church we went to, had mentioned it at church that morning. And the pastor had the whole church pray for me, right? And the time when I woke up was almost about the same time they would have been praying for me. So go figure, you decide what that was, I contributed. God blessed me. He repaired whatever was wrong. I didn't have any problems at that time. And and it's amazing too, because I never took care of myself anyways. I was abused my body more than anything. But and you think that would have woke me up, back then. But gradually I got back into gaining weight and smoking and all of this stuff again. And anyways, that's it was just amazing. And so that's what I've been doing as far as church goes. I hooked up with Jim. He wanted to start a church. We started meeting at the Lord Amherst Hotel. And when they started kicking us out on St. Patrick's Day and stuff, we decided to go look for a building. And Helen's mom found this building and it was available. Everything worked out perfect. It was in God's plan. And I tell you all of that because of it goes back to where even though sometimes things don't feel like they're going the right way, and you're a Christian and you're struggling and you're trying to maintain, God's still there. And He's got a plan for your life, no matter what it is. So anyways, I got sidetracked off my thing again. But anyways, so that's, God's got a plan for your life, and that's basically what I'm saying. What I wanted to talk to you today about is a separation of church and state, because I feel a little bit qualified in that I was in the government for 30 years, law enforcement. I was a judge for 4 years, and a Christian, in those times. That's why I said all of that stuff, all right? So, and one of this was always, I always thought it was in the Bible until I looked it up years ago, but it's Edmund Burke. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing, you know, and that's, I believe, that's what we're seeing today in today's world. Just this morning, I got up, I couldn't sleep too good, but I clicked on, does anybody here still use AOL? No.
Yeah.
Dinosaurs, right? I still use it. I can't get rid of it. For some reason, I use it. It's lousy. It's got rotten stuff on there. You know, it's just Huffington Post is like a most liberal thing, but I still use. I use it because I just don't want to change my email. I think, I don't know. But anyways, I clicked on it this morning, and here's the latest headlines. This was the latest headlines. Queer woman dominated the Women's World Cup. Here's why it matters. Number 2, would you rather Matt Damon or Ben Affleck? Number 3, 6 problems of aging while gay. Number 4, Mexican drug lord El Chapo escapes from prison. Number 5, officer suspended for refusing